Biba Mes Chamorro, we all take pride in who we are. Tonight, we showcase a compelling documentary titled Something to Call Our Own. It delves into the origins, obstacles, and evolution of modern Chamorro dance. Take a look.
I didn't know what Chamorro dance was. All I knew was that they were offering Chamorro dance with this man, Frank Rabone.
In the beginning, people always thought that I was authenticating Chamorro dance, and I keep telling them, I'm not authenticating. That's impossible.
I got some eyes trying to get the best of me. I am the goat from the islands.
It was beginning the stages of being organized as a Chamorro dance art form.
Guam is always marketed as a mini Hawaii or a mini Polynesia.
Back then, when we first started, our uncles were the first ones to turn around and say, that's not Chamorro.
I be all island, all of mine's on this, getting more excited with a sauce like this, no cabbie.
Because back then, there was just one dance group, and that was Tautotano.
We loved the class so much that
we ate it, we slept it, we dreamt it. We woke up and we did it again.
Turn it down, we living that type beat, type dream, type to get it like that.
What I wanted our people, our Chamorro people and the world to know is that we existed. The Chamorros existed in the Marianas 4,000 years ago. We cannot continue to do borrowed dances like the Botsu and the Jitterbug and the Twist and the Cha-Cha when it doesn't belong to us. We need to have something that we can call our own.
Powerful. Something to Call Our Own premiered locally earlier this month at the Micronesia Mall, and it will be showing right here on the stations of KUAM. But to share more about the documentary is award-winning filmmaker Neil Romero, plus an extra special treat with director of the film Chamorro, A Lost Language, Brian Munya. Hafa gentlemen.
Hafa.
So first off, Neil, wow, how did the premiere go?
It went great. It was a stacked full house, and everyone, Brian and I have been working on these films for a while, so it's kind of a big deal for us to finally show it on a huge screen to the locals.
Something to Call Our Own. That's such a fitting title. It's the way we speak too, right? And so, how would you describe it to someone who hasn't seen it yet?
Something to Call Our Own is about the origins of Chamorro dance, and for a lot of people who have not seen the movie or even heard about what Chamorro dance is fairly new in terms of its recreation in a sense. Through colonization of Guam, we lost a lot of cultural traditions. And Frank Rabone, who is the main master of Chamorro dance, was brave enough to reconstruct Chamorro dance. And we learn about how he and his students, who are also now teachers, have done their research to present an art form that the Chamorros can call their own.
Yeah, and Brian, so I love that you said there's the lost language, the traditions, and great job at FESPAC, by the way, in incorporating that in there. But it's just so fitting and that it pairs right along with what you had worked hard on. Tell us a little bit about A Lost Language.
So A Lost Language, it's kind of this story that's kind of been brewing on Guam for a while. It's really about the film itself. Is really my personal journey and why, as a Chamorro, I don't speak the language and how that's affecting me and probably my kids eventually if I don't take action or do something about it. And really about just how we might have lost the language along the way with everything that's happened in Guam in terms of like colonization, westernization, and now even with our own people, right? And how hopefully this film would start a conversation to get us back to thinking about the language, because one of the biggest things for me was trying to have people walk away with really was, am I doing enough to preserve my culture?
Yeah.
And it touches up on kind of like there is sort of a connection here. Uncle Frank Rabone, he was my dance instructor as well for Pa'atatatano when I was at New Caledonia. So I used to be a cultural dancer too.
Okay.
And so the Chamorro spirit, the Chamorro culture has always been a part of me. But then, as we get older, sometimes we lose that, and it's my journey back.
I like that. Both of it is really personable to each of you. And so what would you say, you learned in making this film? And we'll start with you, Brian.
So for me, I learned that the biggest thing that kept a lot of us really from learning the language, at least my generation and maybe the generations after, was this thing of shame. It may have been embedded during, World War II when the schools where English was being dominant, but the shame kind of carried on even down to the teasing, and so you're learning the language as a kid and you're trying to immerse yourself, but then when you say the words the wrong way, and I don't think the other thing that I think is important was that as we're learning this language, we're not going to speak it in the same exact way our grandparents speak it.
Right.
And so there's no shame in that. The important thing is that we try and that we continue to kind of capture the words. And if we have our grandparents around, if we're fortunate to have our grandparents around, to really hear how they say those words, because, and one of the things that Dr. Bavakwa, who's actually in the film, mentioned that was a great idea, was if you have the luxury of talking to your grandparents, have them speak in Chamorro and record that. Because how the pronunciations or how we say things, even the context of how we say things, is important. And they might be that last generation. And it's our job to try to carry that on. And so, get away from the shame, get away from the shaming, and
just keep it
speak
alive.
to the elders. Yeah.
Right. I love that. And Neil, for you, what was something you learned in creating your film?
I learned that within the Chamorro culture, there's a lot of pride. For these group of people to have the bravery to reconstruct this art form, and especially since everyone on island holds their culture so near and dear to their heart, to be able to do that and come up against all these obstacles about opinions and perspectives and say, no, this is still Chamorro. We need this, because if we don't do it ourselves, who's going to?
Yeah.
And for me, so I was kind of anxious about taking on this project initially, mainly because I grew up here, but I'm Filipino. And so to have the responsibility of telling this story, it was a lot for me. And, luckily all the community, the teachers, they were so open and welcoming to what the ideas I had about sharing their story. So I'm very thankful to them for letting me be a part of their journey.
Yeah, we're very thankful for sharing it in the way you did. It definitely draws in a younger audience, so it's appealing to more than just the usual viewers. So great job to both of you, gentlemen. Any final words you'd like to say to our viewers this Mes Chamorro, now that your films are out there?
Well, both of our films right now are featured at the Micronesia Mall theaters. It will be showing Friday, Saturday, Sunday till the end of March.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if the community could come out, support the film, spread the word. I know Chamorro Lost Language is also streaming nationwide. Just share the pieces that we created, because it's for the communities, for the islands, for our people.
All right.
And the best way to continue for us to tell these stories is to continue to have that strong support from our community, which I know Guam, our people, is very strong with. So.
All right, Brian, Neil, thank you so much for joining us. And you heard it right there. You have until the end of this month, but that's not the end of it, where you can go catch Chamorro, A Lost Language, and Something to Call Our Own. Great job again. Congratulations. The community has definitely been bringing it to my attention for the past week since the premiere. So again, congratulations. Sizu Smasi.
Sizu Smasi.